For millennia, spiritual thinkers have offered wisdom and tools to help people find their way in trying times. Advice that even scientists like me find have a lot to offer. Join me, Dave DeSteno, as I talk to leading spiritual and scientific thinkers about everything from the ancient origins of belief to the power of prayer, even for atheists, to how spirituality can help the crisis of meaning men are facing today. Find our show, How God Works, wherever you listen to podcasts.
This is the final service. I'm Mateo Schimpf. There's a microphone, by the way.
Oh, that's cool. What's up?
If you grew up going to church or any other place of worship, you might have memories of your parents dragging you out of the house in your Sunday finest. And maybe you fought it. Didn't want to put on real clothes, would rather be watching cartoons. Or the whole thing just sounded so boring. But not for Egypt.
You would almost explode when they say it's a church trip coming up. Like you went to sleep early to wake up to make sure that, you was the first 10 there at 8 o'clock for church,
It was my first day of reporting about a church on Chicago's South Side, University Church. And we'll get there in a few minutes. But I'm at the kiosk inside the rental shop, just waiting for my Hyundai sedan. And the guy working the desk starts making small talk. "What are you in town for?" he asked me. I hate this question. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I look like a cartoon character, with my giant microphone and a recorder strapped around my waist. But I tell him, I'm a reporter, here to do a story about churches. This doesn't usually get people too excited. But to my surprise, he perks up. "Oh," he says, "there's someone you need to meet."
I'm Egypt Callier. I'm here out in Chicago, but I'm originally from Harlem, New York. New York is cool, don't get me wrong, but Chicago...
You're still repping it right now.
I have to, everywhere I go.
Egypt is a young black woman, in her early 30s. When we met up in a park on the west side of Chicago, she was dressed head to toe in red. Red Yankees hat, red Adidas tracksuit. She's got short, cropped hair and a huge personality. One of those people who you know is from New York before they even tell you. She'd moved to Chicago about 6 months earlier for this job as a manager at the rental car spot.
I used to live out south, near Stony Island. I lived out there for the first 3 months that I was here. I was walking around as a New Yorker, you're not supposed to, but I walked around. And I seen a lot of the kids at the gas station. I'm like, yo, what y'all doing at the gas station? This ain't fun. The fields is empty, the courts is empty. And I'm like, yo, these kids ain't at the main spots that we hung out at. Seeing that, and then walking past the mosque, the Nation of Islam, right there. I'm like, nobody's here. These kids is at the gas station. They at the wrong places.
That bothered Egypt. Not because life for kids in Stony Island was so different from her own in New York. And not specifically about the mosque. She's been a Christian her entire life. But because of what she felt like they were missing out on.
It sucks to me because it's Don, these kids, they not even getting to see the finer things in life because the things that they have in their community, they're not utilizing it. You know what I'm saying?
Egypt's got a big family. Grew up in a housing project on 155th Street in Harlem. She said mom was always out working, so her and her siblings ended up spending a lot of time in the apartment alone.
We would make up games like water balloon fight. So what they would do is they would take the airbag, if it's flattened, they'd take it, wet it up, and you slide through the hallway. It ain't ice, but we ice skating in the kitchen until somebody get hurt. And then it's all right, everybody go to sleep.
Egypt hung out around church a lot as a kid, but it wasn't a big stuffy building with rows and rows of pews.
It was in Rev's house, and Rev would have us congregate there every Sunday. It was all white, one door, and you could see every floor had 3 windows. And you would walk up the stairs all the way to the last floor, then you would turn right and step into a whole empty living room, just filled with the individual seats. I can guarantee you every Sunday at Rev's house, it was packed.
Rev. When I asked Egypt what Rev's real name was, she had no idea. Said if she called up anyone from 155th Street, though, they'd know who she was talking about. Rev, her pastor, was at the center of her universe.
He was maybe 5'8", short haircut. He just used to always be in black. Nice little wave texture to his hair. He always spoke soft to you, but when he put that stern in his voice, you knew he wasn't playing. I could even remember, like, growing up, my brother would get in trouble a lot. He would literally go with my mother to the schools to talk to the principal, to talk to the teachers. And it's like, that's not in his job, but he did things like that. He knew the struggle that we had, although we were like 5 of like maybe 40 to 50 other families inside of the church. Till this day, he was always that father figure that when he was around for our family and supporting us, I felt safe.
That Rev could show up for Egypt's brother at school, or break up fights between her and her siblings, all while supporting 50 other families, it's kind of extraordinary. Egypt wasn't just going to a church. She wasn't even just going to Rev's church. The truth is, Rev was the church. But turning into a sort of larger-than-life figure, that's what keeps Julian Deshazier up at night.
These are, I would say, the moments that worry me the most about that pastor-centric kind of thing I'm trying to get away from in churches. And yet, there's so many things that wouldn't happen on Sunday if I weren't here doing them.
Some of that is purely logistical. Julian is the head pastor at University Church in Chicago's Hyde Park neighborhood. When I followed him around before Sunday morning mass, yeah, some things wouldn't have gotten done if he hadn't been doing them. But they also struck me as the types of things a head pastor is supposed to do. He was handling bills, preparing the lectern, was setting up video equipment to live stream mass. It's a lot of work, but it's also not the type of pastor-centric work that I actually think he was referring to, the thing he's trying to get away from. What worries Julian is the work of getting people inside the walls of University Church, and then making sure they come back.
It would be easier if you made the draw around your personality.
Yes. There's a rapping pastor on the south side of Chicago. You ought to come see him.
To the beautiful track. Go ahead, play a song.
That's going to get a few more people in the door. Come see me. That's going to work. It just works better. It's just not the way to do it, because that's not the truth of this place. The truth is, I don't rap every week.
Julian is a rapper, goes by the name J Quest, and he's good.
Yeah. We just want a chance to be heard. We not like y'all.
This is from a music video he shot back in 2020.
That boy J Quest colder than a blabbity blip.
But Julian does not want to be the rapping pastor.
Would it feel like a burden in that way to you too?
I don't know. I think now, for sure, there are probably earlier days when my ego would have liked it a little bit, but I think now it feels heavier than fun.
The reason that Julian doesn't want to have his face plastered on billboards around Chicago saying, "Go check out the rapping pastor at University Church," is because, well, would you? But also, because it feels like a gimmick to him. We just spent 2 episodes telling the stories of 2 churches, one in New Mexico and the other in Connecticut, that are basically on life support, if they aren't already gone for good. And in the telling of those stories, we spent a lot of time talking about how hard it is for churches to hold on to their existing members, let alone get new ones in the door. So yeah, Julian says, if there was a billboard of him on Michigan Ave holding a mic with stage lights and smoke and a DJ booth, the pews at University Church might see more action on Sundays. But that's not a deep-seated mission, and it's cheap. Doesn't really stand for much in Julian's mind. Plus, it's not sustainable. What would happen if he left for another job in 6 months? What would happen if he got hit by a bus tomorrow?
Do you find it hard to ask other people to evangelize for you?
They're not doing it for me. We're doing it for us as the community. They're not evangelizing the greatness of Pastor Julian. Come and see him.
This is the challenge that Julian has taken on. Getting people on board with a new vision for University Church, spreading the word, and building a community that has all the right ingredients to survive without him. There's a lot of things that are hard about that. 1, think of all the things vying for your attention right now. Work, kids, social media, soccer practice, dinner with friends, the list goes on. It's not just a question of where does the church fit in, but can it compete at all? 2, the role of churches in American life and what people want or need from a church, it's really shifted in the last 50 years. The church used to be the sole provider of so many things that, frankly, you can find in a lot of other places these days. Social spaces, information hubs, support networks. That's taken away a lot of authority from churches and church leaders. But what makes Julian's task so enormously difficult has a lot to do with the people he's trying to reach, the ones that he hopes will become the foundation of University Church. He's a black man from the south side of Chicago, trying to get young black men and women from his old neighborhood to show up, see the value in what he's offering. Julian was born in Washington Park. It's a neighborhood sandwiched between Hyde Park and a major interstate that runs north and south through Chicago.
I used to worry about stuff a lot as a kid, experienced a lot of abuse, addiction. I was surrounded by, and it made me a very worrisome child. I had to figure out how to take care of myself sometimes. Like, how am I going to do this?
His parents split up when he was a kid, and he said he felt disappointed by a lot of the adults in his life. Empty promises, felt like they should have been doing more to help.
I didn't know if I could trust people. I still struggle with that, to be honest. The group work piece of life can be difficult for me.
One of the ways that he was able to escape was through hip-hop. Writing was therapy, didn't require him to be around other people. And music became part of his identity, but he was still reluctant to share that part of himself with the outside world.
To be around people was really difficult for me around 12 or 13 years old. And so I chose not to. The notion of somebody you've never met before getting to know you for the first time through your music, that wasn't. No.
Julian eventually left Washington Park, moved to a suburb further south with his mom and his brother.
And my mother really wanted us to come up, with a faith. And so she started taking us to church, and there was a really cool youth group that was out there. Their thing was, like, if you got a voice and you want to share it, go do your thing. So they heard I rapped and was like, oh, you should come do something. I'm like, what? And that got me in.
Even with a foot in the door, Julian was still cautious.
They had to let me do my thing before I said, okay, they're okay. There was nothing they could have said besides what they eventually said, which was, go do your thing. Because then it's on me, even if it goes terribly, which it did. First time I got on stage, I forgot my lyrics. I ran off stage crying. Why would I come back? Why would I ever try this again? Because they gave me a chance. Because they believed in me. Because they were trying to see me in a way that nobody else had before.
Julian said it took him a while to warm up to the God talk. The church that led the youth group was pretty conservative, Black Baptist, evangelical, the type of church that might conjure up images of MLK and black civil rights leadership from the 50s and 60s.
I couldn't really get with all of that, but I really appreciated the way they talked about Jesus. Pretty soon I became like a youth leader and was like one of those on fire for God Christians, I was really into it.
Julian's fire burned so hot that by the time he got to college, he was writing his own sermons, would get up to the lectern and preach at the Morehouse University Chapel in Atlanta. But he'd walked away with a pretty narrow theology from the church back at home. Said the words coming out of his mouth, they didn't feel like his own. And they weren't his. They belonged to a different era, a different generation.
It was bad. I didn't like who I was in those moments. It didn't feel like me.
What changed?
Being sat down at Morehouse's chapel by their dean. I preached my first sermon, my first semester as a freshman. He heard it and he said, you can't preach anymore until you work through some of this.
Julian did eventually work through it. Started reading books by the sages, clerics and philosophers and civil rights leaders like Howard Thurman. And that's really when things started to click in for him. He got a deeper understanding of his own faith and clarity about his vision for University Church, a place that was welcoming, for sure, but more so that reflected his own voice and experiences, inclusion, justice, and also what he took away from that youth group in the suburbs.
Maybe it's too on the nose to say that that was a safe space for you, but was it?
More than safe, it was a meaningful space. It was a space where I could be nurtured. It was a laboratory. I appreciated that. Safe means a lot here now because it also has to mean physically safe, not just emotional vulnerability safe, but do these kids feel safe here?
University Church is in Hyde Park. It's a neighborhood on Chicago's South Side, and it's also a bit of an outlier. Like a lot of cities, Chicago's pretty segregated. Even though it's got sizable Black, white, and Latino populations, the places that they live are isolated from each other. Like right now, I'm looking at a 2020 census map of Chicago that assigns a different color dot to each ethnicity in the city. People that identify as Black are green dots, white or blue, Latino or yellow. It doesn't take long to see a pretty clear pattern emerge. Basically, everything north of downtown along Lake Michigan is blue, and everything to the south is green, except for Hyde Park. In a sea of green is a little blue rectangle.
I've described Hyde Park for you a lot of times here. A lot of people do feel safe in Hyde Park if they feel welcome. Okay, if I'm here, I'm good. All right, okay, I'm cool. They know the police not gonna mess with them here.
Hyde Park is home to the University of Chicago. It's a prestigious private college that has a major presence in the neighborhood. It's hard to miss the beautiful, old limestone and brick buildings everywhere, professors looking professorial, students cruising around on bikes. But the university also played a big role in who gets to be a part of this blue rectangle. In the past, it's done a lot to build up walls around itself, to insulate itself from Black communities on the South Side. Some of that dates back to racial covenants enforced by university and neighborhood improvement associations back in the 1930s and 40s. Today, it's more like a persistent police presence. And that's one of the things that Julian struggles with. Can the kids that he's trying to reach from surrounding neighborhoods, and they aren't all kids, 12, 16, 21 years old, can they see themselves here in Hyde Park, at University Church? They're physically safe within these walls, but do they feel like they belong?
If they're walking back to Woodlawn or whatever, like, oh, okay, somebody might pull up alongside them for a little bit longer. We worked on that and to make sure that police here know that we have these kind of programs, that we have these kids coming through, and that not only just, hey, look out for them or leave them alone, but like encourage them. You know what I'm saying? Is
it frustrating that you have to have those conversations?
Yeah, but that's where we are with policing right now. I hate it. I can't. Yeah, I just hate it, period.
I'm doing good. Yourself?
Good. What's your name? Laura?
When I started setting things up with Julian about when I should drop by his office and who I should talk to and what time is mass, he told me about a group I should meet.
You can get the conversation going in a way that you want to.
Sure.
None of us fully know what you want to talk about. So that's exciting.
Okay.
But also a little nerve-wracking too.
Okay. It was Friday evening, 6 p.m., and University Church was completely empty except for us. It's a big church, Gothic style, huge gray arches, tall vaulted ceiling, stained glass windows. Julian cleared out to load up slices of pizza for the kids, and he gave me the floor.
And so one of the things that we wanted to talk to people about is one, why are churches closing? And then also, how can churches be relevant to people's lives?
My audience was small, about 10 people, ages 6 to 21, spread out across 5 pew benches, plus one mom, Lola, in the front row.
So I'm a mother that birthed 8. I've raised 10. So it's like 7 of my children are here. They're siblings. They're brothers. I don't know why they didn't tell you that.
These brothers are the Woodlawn Boys. And I'm calling them that not because they're from a neighborhood just south of Hyde Park called Woodlawn, but because they're part of a group called the Woodlawn Restorative Justice Hub. They use classrooms at University Church for their programs.
My name Eric. The Woodlawn Restorative Justice Hub is about having peace circles, getting together, building a stronger community.
My name's Jada. They teach you how to talk. They teach you how to communicate conflict. If it's an argument, how to resolve it.
My name's Javontes.
Javontes? Okay, what's your last name?
Andrews.
Andrews?
Yeah.
Okay. And how about you? How'd you get involved with Woodlawn?
My OG. My mama.
Javontes stood out to me right away. He was joking around, had a funny laugh. And out of all the boys, it felt like the restorative justice program was having the biggest impact on him.
I feel like every time I come here, it gives me a motivation of me talking, because I don't talk too much, certain stuff that you don't really talk about.
It was tough to go deep with Javontes that evening. I was trying to get a little bit of everyone's story, popcorning around the room with my microphone. Plus, there was pizza, and the boys only had an hour to hang out. But I took down his number, told him I wanted to meet up again and talk, if he was up for it.
I'll get you a little song that was made, I say, remember about the time that we had, I really put my heart in it. Girl, you had me going all in. Now I'm glad that we passed that.
Javantez and I met up early on Sunday morning, posted up along a pier on the south side, getting whipped by the wind from Lake Michigan. He's 21 years old, works overnight shifts as a security guard while he's figuring out the whole college thing. What Javantez really wants to do, though, is make music.
Do you have like a name that you go by for your like as an artist?
I was thinking like Tazzy Roney, but that's not no good rap.
It sounds like a pasta.
Yeah, Tazzy Roney, nah, that's not no good rapping name. So
the clip I just played of Javantez singing, that's from a song he'd just written about a breakup. A lot of the songs he was writing those days were about love. But the first song he ever wrote was about his brother, Austin.
He was the one always just like me. He want to help people, want to make sure people good.
Austin and Javantez aren't actually siblings. The two met when they were about 12 and became attached at the hip. They were both obsessed with basketball, played whenever they got the chance.
It was intense. Every time we was doing one-on-ones, I beat them or I just be going crazy. Tomorrow, you weak, boy, you this and that. I'm like, all right. The whole time, you know I'm getting him a bucket every time.
Javantez spent a lot of time at Austin's house and getting to know his mom, Lola. When she asked him how he was getting to and from school, Javantez told her he really didn't have a way. So she asked if he wanted to come live with Austin and the other boys.
I just became part of the family.
Javantez and Austin stayed in lockstep all through high school.
We told each other we was gonna be living with each other, we was gonna do this together, everything.
And then one night in 2019, that all changed.
We was walking to the store. We was walking back home in the alley. It was me, my brother, and my two friends. We like 3 or 4 houses down from the house. We walking in the alley, and we just started hearing gunshots, and we started running.
One friend took off down the alley. Behind him, he thinks, was Austin. Javantez heard his scream.
We went through a little cut, and we had under the porch, and we went to my friend's house and told him, like, call 911. Austin just got shot, and I must have run back towards the alley, and my brother just laying on the floor, just bleeding out. And all I could think was get back to the house and try to get back to my brother to try to save him.
Javantez said he wanted to go back, but by the time he got home, told Lola, called 911, it was just too much.
I didn't want to see my brother on the floor bleeding out. My mama trying to pick him up and everything. They call the ambulance. They pick him up like he was dead. And it was just like, why him? He was walking home, you know. Walking home. He was almost home.
Gang violence can be hard for these kids to escape. It doesn't define them, but it's there. And even when you're not involved in a gang, like Austin, it can still come and find you. His death, of course, had a massive impact on Javantez. All the plans they had to make money and move out of mom's house and live together, they've been on hold since the murder. Javantez said he only really leaves the house to go to work. It's safer that way. Lola started sending the boys to the Woodlawn Restorative Justice Hub about a year after Austin's murder. The COVID-19 pandemic derailed the family counseling sessions she'd signed them up for. But she still wanted a place where the boys could feel comfortable, a safe space to talk.
I feel like certain stuff that you don't want to talk about, you can come to that circle and talk about it, and you won't get no bad attentions
Do you mean that like people won't judge you?
Yeah, won't judge me, yeah.
Do you worry about being judged?
Yes. Just because you ain't been in that situation, don't talk down on me and it feel like I'm in my feelings and everything just because that happened to me and it didn't happen to you.
What do you feel like people judge you on?
Me talking soft, me always in my feelings.
The Woodlawn program also has some really practical elements. They give the kids a little stipend if they show up, connect them with job opportunities and college counseling.
In particular with these kids, they want to know that there's something to look forward to.
Even though Julian doesn't work for Woodlawn, he's got a similar relationship with other kids in the community. He'll say things to them like, what if instead of making $200 a week running drugs, you could make 5 times that as a lawyer or a healthcare worker or as a sports agent? Literally anything else in the world. And by the way, I'm going to hook you up with some people that can help.
Do you feel like that makes them feel like there's an expectation of them that's scary for them?
I'm sure it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming for me. It's a challenging opportunity. You got something to offer. Don't you want to offer it? Like, don't you want a chance to offer it? Since we know where this goes, we know. They know. They're not like under any presumptions. No kid thinks they're going to the NBA here. You know, like they know where this life of being on the streets leads to, because they've seen it in their older brother or their father or their cousin or something. Like they've seen it. So they're not like under any assumptions that, oh, it's going to work for me though. What I try to be is just somebody who's just like going alongside them and offering support in that. Just a sounding board, a safe space, a place for them to just come and do what they think what do you think you want to do? Let's give them the chance to dream, to change their mind, to try stuff, to fail, to be irresponsible and it not be like a mark on the race or anything, but just like, no, because young people are irresponsible and that happens, that's the pressure. I'm trying to draw back from that and say, listen, you know you're a black man. Let's not do everything as if it is going to change people's understanding about the race. Mm-hmm. And you're doing it. Maybe it will. Why don't you just do it because it brings you alive?
It felt like Julian was talking to a younger version of himself. These kids feel the pressure. I felt the pressure. These kids, they need to do something that brings them alive. I needed to do something that brought me to life. What I've left out of our conversation, notably, is the God talk. One, because it's not as specific or interesting. Like,
I'm telling you that God's in you. I'm telling you that everywhere you go is possibility and opportunities.
Of course, Julian wants to talk to them about God. He's a pastor. He cares deeply about it. But 2, he knows that's not a winning formula to get young black people into University Church. It wasn't how he warmed up to Jesus as a kid, and it's not what's going to get a new generation coming in now. So this is what Julian is trying to do. Build partnerships and relationships that are relevant to their lives. Woodlawn Restorative Justice Group is just an example of that. So is the recording studio that Julian built in the basement of University Church. He's involved in all kinds of social justice issues. Fought for the University of Chicago to build a trauma center so that gunshot victims from the South Side had a place to get treatment. He was on the streets of Chicago supporting Black Lives Matter protesters after George Floyd was murdered. Something, by the way, that many black church leaders didn't do. But Julian's support also has its conditions.
I'm not going to save you. I'm not going to do that. If you want this thing, you move toward it. And then you'll see how much I'll move. Once I even see you lift your foot, I got you. Uber's food, whatever. Like, I got you. But I got to see that. I got to see that. Because for too many people, I've had experiences where that didn't happen. Or they got out the prison and I found out, like, hey, where are you living? You know, I'm going to come check you out. And I'm doing that. I'm like finding out where they are. I'm going to check on them afterwards. Gone. Nowhere. And it's like, that's a lot of energy and a lot of resources and a lot of me now feeling like a failure. Like I didn't do something right because of something that just they didn't want or couldn't do at that moment. as opposed to saying to them what I say now, which is, here's where I am. Come find me.
The last place I'd find Julian before skipping town was at the lectern.
Amen and good morning. Good morning. This is the day that our God has made. We rejoice.
He had a theme for that Sunday's Mass, graduation day. It was early June, and all the middle school and high school and college kids were just breaking for summer. About 40 people showed up in t-shirts emblazoned with letters and logos from their alma maters, including Julian. He said this was his core, the 40 people he can count on to show up most Sundays. Julian bristled a bit when I asked him about how this was affecting the bottom line at University Church. Can this work with 40 people? It just didn't feel like a lot for such a big space. I'm showing you how we make it work, Julian told me. He was slicing open an envelope and pulling out a check. He was tired from everything on his plate, and I think of all my questions.
Yeah, we could talk about the financial reality of it, but I'm not really interested in that. I don't care about that. I care about people living into their fullest potential, which I don't think is possible outside of the context of community. You need a community at some point. That's just like a moral argument that I'm making. Everyone does need somebody who they can talk to in that kind of way. But beyond that, just the notion of being alone, or that I'm going through this and I think I'm gonna have to go through it alone, which is the first thought that those boys have, right?
Noticeably absent from Sunday morning Mass, though, were Javantez and the rest of the Woodlawn boys. I'm not sure I expected them to show up, and I don't think Julian did either. But he kept saying to me, "Don't you see how hard this is?" Yeah, I did. The boys said they didn't leave the house much. Some of that is fear about violence in the neighborhood. Some of that is video games, phones, social media. Interacting online, it's much easier than in person. Julian is making his best pitch. Come for the safe space. Come for the music. Come for social justice. Come for pizza. But the hardest part about Julian's pitch might just be the nature of the thing. It's a church, and young people, like Javantez, have a very specific idea about what that means.
You know how the pastors be talking like they is God, you know?
Do you ever think about going back to church?
Nah, I'm not even gonna say a lie to you. Nope.
Why not?
It's hard for me to listen. Nah, let me not say that. I probably would, you know, if I get a relationship, yeah.
If your girl goes to church?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you think could get you to go back?
Probably my brother. Thinking of my brother, like, if he tell me, like, go for him.
That just might be all the daylight that Julian needs. The final service was made possible with generous support from the Henry Luce Foundation and is distributed by PRX. It was written and produced by me, Mateo Schimpf, with additional writing and reporting from Ray Suarez. I also engineered and mixed the series. My editor and executive producer is Jared Sport. Music is from Blue Dot Sessions.